Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Michael, those tests seemed to come one after another, each one heavier than the last. Michael was only 23, but he carried the weight of someone twice his age. His father had fallen ill years earlier and could no longer work, leaving his mother to hold the family together. Michael had younger siblings who looked up to him, yet all he could think about was how badly he was failing them. He worked 2 jobs, delivering packages during the day and washing dishes at a small diner at night. Yet despite his best effort, the bills piled higher than his paychecks. Every morning he woke before sunrise, his body sore, his eyes heavy. He would lace up his worn-out shoes, the soles almost peeling, and step into the biting cold air. With every delivery he made, he dreamed of a different life, one where he wasn't constantly running, constantly behind, constantly exhausted. Life didn't slow down. If anything, it grew harder. The landlord threatened eviction. His siblings needed school supplies. His mother needed medicine. Michael felt like he was drowning, gasping for air, but unable to rise above the surface. One particular evening, after finishing another grueling shift at the diner, Michael trudged home. The city was alive with noise, cars honking, people laughing, neon signs flashing. Yet inside, Michael felt empty. His jacket was too thin for the icy wind, his scarf was long lost years ago, and his stomach was empty because he'd given his last meal to his younger brother. He sat at a bus stop bench, his body shivering from both cold and despair. For the first time in years, he let himself cry. He buried his face in his hands, not caring who saw. "What's the point?" he whispered. "No matter how hard I work, nothing changes." People walked past him, busy with their own lives. Some glanced at him, but quickly looked away. In a city full of millions, he felt invisible. And then it happened. A shadow fell across him, and a gentle voice broke through the noise of traffic. "Young man, are you all right?" Michael lifted his head slowly. Standing before him was an elderly woman, bundled in a heavy coat, her silver hair peeking out from under a knitted hat. Her eyes were kind, filled with concern but also warmth. Michael wiped his face quickly and forced a smile. "I'm fine," he lied, "just tired." The woman studied him for a moment, then shook her head softly. Without another word, she unwound the wool scarf from around her neck, thick, warm, and clearly handmade. She stepped closer and gently wrapped it around Michael's neck. "You look like you need this more than I do," she said. Michael blinked, stunned. "No, ma'am, I can't. I can't take this from you." But she raised her hand firmly, silencing him. "Nonsense. I have another at home. Besides, I've lived many winters. Still have so many ahead of you. Stay warm, son. Tough times don't last, but kind people do." Michael's throat tightened. He wanted to speak, to thank her, to explain how much this meant, but words failed him. All he could do was nod, clutching the scarf as if it were the most valuable treasure he had ever owned. The woman smiled at him, patted his shoulder, and walked away into the night. Michael watched her disappear into the crowd, his heart heavy yet strangely lighter at the same time. That scarf was more than just wool and yarn. It was hope. It was proof that in a cold world, kindness still lived. As the bus arrived, Michael sat there with the scarf snug around his neck. For the first time in months, he didn't feel invisible. Someone had seen him. Someone had cared. And that act, as small as it might have seemed, reignited something inside him. When he got home that night, his siblings noticed the scarf immediately. "Wow, Michael, that looks so warm," his little sister exclaimed, wrapping herself in its loose end. He smiled for the first time in days. "Yeah," he said softly. "It is." But deep inside he was thinking, if one act of kindness from a stranger could make me feel this alive again, maybe I can keep going. Maybe I can survive this. The next morning, Michael woke with a different energy. The problems were still there. The bills hadn't magically disappeared, and the struggles hadn't ended. But something had shifted. He looked at himself in the mirror and said aloud, "Kindness never fails." That phrase became his fuel. Whenever doubt crept in, he touched the scarf and remembered the woman's words. He delivered packages with a smile, greeted customers at the diner with respect, and treated every person he met as if they mattered, because they did. Opportunities didn't come overnight. He still faced rejection and hardship, but slowly his energy changed and people noticed. The shop owner at the diner gave him more hours. A delivery client recommended him for a better job. Step by step, Michael's life began to shift, all because a stranger had reminded him of something he had forgotten. Kindness always matters. That scarf became his symbol, a reminder that kindness never fails. Years passed, but Michael never forgot that winter night or the woman who wrapped a scarf around his neck and spoke words that warmed his soul. He wore that scarf until it frayed at the edges, but he never let it go. It was in Tejas fabric. It was a reminder that one act of kindness had given him the strength to keep moving. With renewed purpose, Michael worked tirelessly. He accepted every extra shift, saved every spare dollar, and treated everyone he met with dignity and respect. His attitude began to draw people toward him. Customers at the diner remembered his smile. Delivery clients trusted his reliability. Even strangers noticed how he carried himself with quiet determination. Over time, opportunities opened. Michael moved from washing dishes to helping in the kitchen, then to managing orders. The delivery company, he rose from carrying boxes to coordinating routes. By his early 30s, after years of sacrifice, Michael had saved enough money to start his own small delivery service. It wasn't fancy, just a borrowed van, a tiny office, and a handwritten sign. But it was his. Michael named the business Scarf Logistics in honor of the gift that had changed his life. When people asked about the name, he always smiled and said, "Because kindness never fails." At first, running the business was overwhelming. Bills, clients, deadlines, breakdowns, problems arrived daily. There were nights Michael slept in his van because he couldn't afford both rent and gas, but he refused to quit. Whenever despair crept in, he remembered the woman's words. Tough times don't last, but kind people do. Slowly the business grew. Michael hired his first employee, then a second. He treated them not just as workers, but as family. If someone was late, he listened instead of scolding. If someone struggled, he helped instead of firing. He believed that a workplace built on kindness would create loyalty stronger than any contract. One rainy afternoon, Michael stopped at a cafe after making deliveries. As he sipped his coffee, he noticed a young man outside under the awning. The boy looked about 19, soaked from the storm, clutching a torn backpack. He seemed lost, exhausted, and invisible to the crowd that rushed past him. Something about him reminded Michael of himself all those years ago, sitting cold and hopeless at a bus stop. Without thinking twice, Michael walked outside. "Hey, son," he said gently. "You all right?" The young man looked up, surprised. "I'm fine," he muttered, though his voice trembled. Michael smiled knowingly. I used to say that too, even when I wasn't. The boy hesitated, then admitted, I've been looking for work, but no one will hire me. I've been sleeping wherever I can. I don't know what to do anymore. Michael reached into his wallet and handed him a business card. Come by my office tomorrow morning. It's nothing big, but I could use an extra hand. If you're willing to work, you've got a chance. The boy's eyes widened. Really? You'd hire me? Michael nodded. Everyone deserves a chance. We will weigh well whether I wire. Someone helped me, and now it's my turn to help you. The next day, the young man showed up early. His name was David. He started by cleaning the office and organizing deliveries, but Michael saw something familiar in him: determination. Over time, Michael taught him everything he knew: how to manage routes, deal with clients, and stay disciplined. Months turned into years. David grew in skill and confidence, and eventually Michael promoted him to manager. When Michael expanded his business to multiple vans, David became his right-hand man. Together, they built not just a company, but a culture of kindness. But Michael's kindness didn't stop there. Every winter, he and his employees donated scarves, coats, and meals to the homeless, inspired by the gift that once saved him. He often told his team, we're not just delivering packages, we're delivering trust, respect, and kindness. That's what people will remember. His philosophy spread. Employees treated customers with warmth, customers remained loyal, and the business thrived. What began with one scarf grew into a company that supported dozens of families. One day, at a company event, David asked Michael, "Boss, why do you always say kindness never fails?" Sometimes people take advantage of kindness. Doesn't that make it a weakness? Michael smiled. Kindness is not weakness. It's strength. People may ignore it, misuse it, or overlook it, but it never fails because it plants seeds. Those seeds may not bloom immediately, but one day they will. I'm standing here because of a scarf a stranger gave me years ago. She has no idea what that act did, but it created everything you see here. David nodded slowly, realizing that the company itself was living proof of those words. Years later, as Michael grew older, he often walked the same streets where his story began. Whenever he passed a bus stop on a cold night, he made sure to carry extra scarves in his bag. If he saw someone struggling, he offered not just warmth but encouragement. And though most of those people never saw him again, he knew his kindness lived on in them, just as the elderly woman's kindness had lived on in him. The truth is, kindness never fails because it never dies. It moves from one person to another, across generations, across lifetimes. One scarf becomes hope. One chance becomes opportunity. One act becomes a legacy. Michael never found the woman who gave him that scarf, but in his heart, he thanked her every day. Without her, he might have quit on life. Without her, there would be no company, no jobs created, no lives touched. She would never know it, but her simple gesture had changed the world, at least for him. And for everyone, his kindness later reached. And that is the lesson of this story. Never underestimate the power of kindness. It doesn't need money, it doesn't need status, it doesn't need recognition. It only needs a willing heart. So the next time you wonder if your small act matters, a smile, a kind word, a gesture of help, remember Michael, remember the scarf, remember that kindness, no matter how small, never fails. Because wealth will fade Achievements will be forgotten, but kindness leaves a legacy that lasts forever. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more motivational content. Carry this truth with you always. Kindness never fails.